So this is lesson 12, activity 2. So this is kind of 3.12.2. Today, we're going to kind of work some more on analyzing equations and situations to predict whether the result will be greater or less than the starting number. So we've already kind of encountered that. We're going to identify whether we need a whole number or if it's going to be a fraction just by looking at the equation that we have in front of us. Okay? If you have page 98 and 99 from your class book, this will help you today, because I took this straight from our textbook because I thought it gave us a good structure. In the equations below, A and B are whole numbers greater than 1. So it's 2, 3, 4, and up, okay? N over D is a fraction, less than 1. So it's a piece of 1. 1D is a unit fraction, right? So we know it's one piece of something. And D can be any fraction, but 1D is a unit fraction. So we know the parts of a division problem. I'm kind of taking us back maybe third grade-ish. We have a dividend, what's being divided, divisor, the one doing the dividing, and a quotient, which is the answer. So I'm looking at the parts of a division problem. So we should know those words, right? Okay. So if A times B equals C, will C be greater than or less than A? So we're going to plug in 2 times 4 equals 8. Will C be greater than or less than A? Say it. Greater. Why? Why is it greater? So C is a whole number of groups of size A. So my A, there's 2 groups. I'm sorry. There's 4 groups. 1, 2, 3, 4, with 2 in them, right? All that thinking? So if C is a whole number of groups of this size A, then it must be greater than A. If A is the amount, and we're spreading it over several groups, isn't C going to be more? Let's even say that your A is 4. 4 times 4. You have 4 groups, and there's 4 in each group. Isn't that more than 4? There are 4 items in each group, 4 groups. Isn't your answer, C, going to be greater than how many items you had? Okay. Here you see an example of 7 items spread across 5 groups. Is C, so if I'm looking at A times B equals C, is C going to be greater than or less than A? Greater, because you're taking A and doing it multiple times. So of course your number is going to get bigger. Thumbs up if you are semi-understanding this, because I'm going to move on to the next one. Okay. Now we're going to look at a fraction. So I have A times N over D equals C. Will C be greater than or less than A? So you have A times N over D equals C. Is C going to be greater than or less than this one? If you're talking about the number of things, A, in this many groups, are you going to have greater than or less than the amount you started with? Less. Good. Now you're starting to think. C is only a fraction of A, right? So you might say here, ND of A, a piece of A, because you can flip this around very easily, right? A times ND or ND times A. Thumbs up if you have heard that before. You can flip that. It's that property, the commutative property. So when we read this multiplication problem, when there's a whole number and a fraction, we say ND of A. Or we might say 3 times 1/4. 1/4 of 3. It's going to be smaller than 3, isn't it? Because I'm looking for a piece of 3. Okay? So now we're going to go into the confusing world of division. Because I feel like division really messes with our brains when it comes to fractions. Thumbs up if you agree. A divided by B is C. Is C going to be greater than or less than A? Think about your parts of a division problem. That might help you. You have a dividend, something that's being divided. You have a divisor. Somebody's doing the splitting it apart, right? And then you have a quotient, or the answer. So think really hard. Will C be greater than or less than A? I heard it, less than. Why? Yay, that makes me, we're starting to. It's less than. You are correct. You are correct. What are we doing here? We are dividing. What are we dividing? I'm making these capitals. We're dividing A into a whole number of parts. So each part will be less than A. So we're taking A and we're dividing it out. We're breaking it apart, right? We're breaking it into groups. We're breaking it into parts. So C, of course, is going to be smaller than that because we're breaking that A up. Everybody got it? Okay. The next one says A divided by 1D. So that's a unit fraction. 1/4, 1/2, 1/3, 1/6. It's a unit fraction. Equals C. Will C be greater than or less than A? Think about. I heard you say it. C is going to be greater than A. You're 100% correct. Because we were saying, like a perfect example is that one about not the hamburgers, the 1/8. Yesterday it said they had each bag took 1/8 of a pound of rice, right? And there was 15 pounds of rice. We wanted to know how many pounds are going to be in each one of those, or how many bags were going to be filled. So we wanted to know how many eighths are in 15. We know in 1 pound there's how many eighths? 1 pound has 8 eighths. So already I know that I'm going to have a lot of eighths in 15 because it's the same as 15 times 8. Okay, so that's why C is going to be greater in this case. We're going to read number 13. Lucy spends 4 hours a week babysitting. Her sister Lily spends 7/8 as much time babysitting. Does Lily babysit for more or less than 4 hours? Oh, I should have said that. Hold on. So we are multiplying because we're trying to see 4 times 7/8. So here is our 4 times 7/8, which is really 4 over 1 times 7/8, isn't it? Okay, so I'm going to reduce here, because I like to do that myself, equals 7 2s, which really equals 3.5 hours, which is less than what Lucy babysat. Okay, number 14. Yoshi has a rope 30 feet long. He must cut it into pieces that are 1/4 foot long. Will get more or fewer than 30 pieces? So first we need to decide multiplication or division. And our class resoundingly said we're going to divide, and we're going to have way more pieces. Now find the exact number of pieces that Yoshi will get. So I want to know 30 feet divided by 1/4, because I want to know how many quarters fit into 30, right? So it's going to be 4 times 30, which equals, there's going to be 120 pieces. Carlos can throw a ball 14 yards. His friend Raul, listen how I read this, okay? His friend Raul can throw 3/7 of that distance. Is Raul's throw longer or shorter than 14 yards? First, division or multiplication? Very good. Multiplication. Is it going to be more or less than 14 yards? Less. Because it's a piece, right? It's a snippet. It's a piece. So the way I'm going to figure this out is 3/7 times 14, which is really 3/7 times 14 over 1. I am going to reduce now, because I don't like to reduce later, and it's 6 yards. Who got it right? An apple orchard. Gosh, I hope I got all of that. Okay. Covers 12 acres. There is a watering spout every 1/4 acre. Are there more or fewer than 12 watering spouts? First of all, multiply or divide? Divide. And are there going to be more or less? Good job. Because what this is asking is how many quarters are in 12. Right? How many quarters are in 12? So you have 12 divided by 1/4. Because I want to know how many fourths are in 12. And I know that that is the same as 12 times 4, 48 watering spouts. Now, this what we did here, the divide more or less, that's generalizing. That's knowing your numbers, and that's making a guess based upon what you know how these word problems are set up. So you need to tackle, you have from now until the end of math lunchtime to tackle